Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi Maseches NIDAH Daf Lamed Hey. We begin on Lamed Daled Amud Beis, 3 lines from the bottom. By Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef presents a question as follows: Re'iyah Rishoina, so the material, the fluid emitted by the Metzora for the first time. Re'iyah Rishoina Shal Metzora Ma. What's the status of that emission? Ma shetetami b'masa. If one merely carries without directly touching it, will he become tummy from it? Now, before we continue, a bit of an introduction is in place. We're meant to know that this ziva, this material, if it were to be produced by a zav upon his second experience or third experience, certainly there is tumas masa on that material. One carries it, becomes tummy. We also know that a mitzora, a person has a nega, his ma'ayonos are tummy, his well springs, his personal fluids, which conform to the criteria of ma'ayonos, which we discussed yesterday. So that's specific to something which accumulates, like a saliva, and then drips out, miraglaim, as well. So those are matame b'masa. Let's shift back over to the zav. Halacha is that the first experience that he has, the pasuk compares it to keri teshcha zera, which does not have tumas masa, merely tumas maga, by direct contact you can become tummy. It doesn't have that added severity of tumas masa. So that's the known fact. The first experience of the zav is equated to shechva zera, which is tumas masa free. It's only times 2 and times 3, where the ziva, with the material, is matami b'masa. On the other hand, the other track we have the metzora, where his ma'ayana is atami b'masa. Now comes an interesting confluence of events. He was a metzora, and now he's experiencing ziva for the first time. If he were just a regular person, that first time experience would not have tumas masa, as we explained. But since he's also a metzora, now the question is, does this ziva qualify as a ma'ayon, as a wellspring, as a personal fluid which is metame b'masa, as per the mayonas of a metzora, or shall we say no? Ziva does not really qualify as a mayon, doesn't have that same, the same characteristics of mayon, and therefore there's no tumas masa at this point, unless he gets to times 2 and times 3, where now he's a full-fledged zav, where the ziva is metame on account of zivas zav. But that wouldn't be sufficient for the first time, which is only the first time, which is typically not metame b'masa if he's only a zav, but maybe because it's a metzora, right? But Rav Yosef, the first experience of ziva when he's a metzora, ma'u shetetame b'masa, does it have masa status? Shall we say mokem ziva mayanu? The ziva comes from a place of a mayan, umetame, and therefore it's like any other mayan, personal fluid of a metzora, which is metame b'masa, idumo, or la mayanu, doesn't have that quality. It's not a mayan, it's not metame b'masa. Amar Rabba Toshmai comes a right from a bryce, zoi voi tamei. So the pasuk here is speaking about times 2 of the zav, his second experience. Zoi voi tamehu. The bryce explains. We learn limeid ala zoiv shu tamei. We learn that the ziva itself has tumas masa. But now, what's this fellow's status? Is he just a zav? Ilam, shall we say, b'zav grade is just merely a zav? We turn to the next amud. Why a pasuk for this? It's obvious that the ziva itself is metame. If it's metame the person, by experiencing this liquid, he becomes severely tame. Certainly, you would assume the liquid itself is tame. La'achirim gerim tu, if it causes tuma to others, meaning to his host, la'atzma l'kosh concernly regarding himself. So that goes without saying. Elapshita b'zav metzora. Oh. So we must be speaking about a fellow who did not get tumah from the ziva because he was already tummy beforehand. He was a metzora. So there goes that factor, causing others. Certainly, he himself, he's not causing others any tumah. The host is already tummy before, pre-tummy, before the experience. Okay, and that necessitates a pasuk. The fact that Torah has to go out of its way and tell you that the second emission is tamei, is the metame b'masa. So what does that tell you? That only times 2, where it's a true ziva, that ziva has tumas masa. But if it's only the first time, there's no tumas masa, despite the fact that it's coming from mitzera. That confirms that ziva is not a mayan. Shema. The fact there has to go out of its way and tell you to apply tuma on the second time. Shema, that confirms mokim ziva lav mayanu. Ziva doesn't come from a mayan. Lav mayanu. In which case, only on account of mitzera per se, there would be no tumas masa. It's not a mayan. The only way you can apply tumas masa is if you consider it ziva. That's only from times 2. Amalei Rabbi Yehuda midas darka. Rabbi Yehuda from the town of the Darka tells Rabbi, Mimai, how do we know? That was speaking about a zav who happens to also be a mitzera. You know what? We can be speaking about a plain zav. If so, why does the Torah have to go and teach us that there is tumah on times 2? Well, if it causes the host tumah, certainly, it's not such a simple equation. Regarding your question, if he causes tumah to his host, certainly he himself, it's not just a simple, obvious fact. So I'll bring you a case where there's something that brings about tumah to others, but he himself is tumah free. And perhaps this would be the same, if not for the pasuk. So Hamish Taleach, on Yom Kippur, the goat that's thrown off the cliff, that will disprove this formula. Because there we have Shagayim Tumah Lachirim, he causes Tumah to the one who throws him off the cliff, but he himself, while he's still alive, rolling down, is still tar. Who atzmai tar? So you see, it's not an automatic system. So perhaps we're talking about a regular zav here. The Torah still has to tell you that the ziva itself is metameh b'masa. I'm not talking about a mitzvah. So there goes our whole, attempt at resolving our question. Mighty boyle, what was Rav Yosef even posing a question here? I'm not sure what his question was. That Mitzvah the first time around, Vahu the Amar, he himself yesterday told us. How do we know that the ziva concept applies across all ages? Zois Teiras Hazav. We learn from here, Ben Gadol Ben Katan, whether he's an adult or a child. Now, the Keva the Nafkale Mihasam, since he's learning it from that pasuk, that frees up a different pasuk, which we had yesterday, L'Zachar, right? L'Zachar L'Keva, that was an extra pasuk coming to teach us all ages. But once that halacha is sourced from Zoyis Teres Hazav, that frees up, it makes the word L'Zachar available. So to him, the word L'Zachar is extra and available to teach us L'Rabbeis Mitzvah L'Mayan Yosef, that the Zachar's wall springs, when he's a Mitzvah, are Tamei, and the word Nekeva, L'Rabbeis Mitzaras, the man said that the Mayanos of the Nekeva Mitzaras are Tamei. And in that same pasuk, we have a mention of a Zav as well. V'aksh Rachmana Mitzara L'Zav Gomer. Torah is now connecting a Mitzara to a proper Zav, meaning a Zav, starting from times 2, times 3, which allows for a matchup between the two. Between a Zav and a Mitzvah, to teach us Ma Zav Gomer, just like a complete, fully developed Zav, from times 2 and on. Mitame b'masa, that material is Mitame b'masa, Af Riyah Rishoina Shal Mitzvah, Mitame b'masa likewise. By Mitzvah as well, even the first time around, the Ziva is considered a Mayan as Mitame b'masa. Okay, so that concludes this discussion. We had a question regarding the Ziva is a Mitame b'masa. We know that it is first time around it's not, only from second time and third time on. We know also that a Mitzvah is Mayan as a Mitame. What about the Ziva coming from a Mitzvah? First time around, is it a Mayan or not? The conclusion is it is. Okay, now we move on to the next topic, slightly related. So a fellow became a Zav. He experienced this Ziva liquid once, twice, 3 times. He's Tamei. Now, if the Ziva was caused by Ba'inus, came about through some sort of external cause, personal overexertion, overeating, etc., we discount the Ziva experience. It doesn't make him Tamei. On the other hand, if it's keri that he experienced, some sort of zera liquid, there, even if it came about by oines, he's tamei. Of course, a more limited type of tumah, just a one-day tumah, it's only metame b'maga. But regarding keri, oines is not a factor. Regarding ziva, it is. Now comes an interesting question. The first ziva experience, which the Torah compares to a bal keri, it's different material. It's more of a looser, liquidy type of material. And therefore, it's called ziva. But it's the first ziva, which the Torah compares to a bal keri, which only lands in a very light, one-day tumah. What about the oines factor? Is it at play or not? Shall we say, look, oines is not at play when it comes to keri, and this is equated to keri. On the other hand, the fact is physically it's ziva material, and regarding ziva, oines is a discounting factor. Amar Rav Huna, I have a question. Riyah rishon shalzav. First, riyah v'zav, and it was ba'oines. What happens? Mitama ba'oines. According to Rav Huna, oines will not be a mitigating factor on the first ziva experience, although it is times 2 and times 3, but not times 1, because the Torah compares it to keri, where oines is not a factor. Shenemar, zois teres hazav, v'asher teitzim min shichva zera, and we learn to compare the two. Ma shichva zera, just like over there, mitame ba'oines will not mitigate it. Afri rishon shalzav, likewise, the first experience of the zav, mitame ba'oines is tami, even though it's an oines. Tashmai comes a kasha from a Mishnah in Maseches Zavim, which indicates that oines is a factor at play even on times 1. Tashma ra riyah rishona, he had his first ziva, but so we examine what happened. My love leading to litum. Apparently, it's to determine whether he's tamei. Apparently, oines is a mitigating factor. Lo carbon, no, tamei is tamei regardless. The point of checking and confirming whether there was an oines there, lo carbon, is regarding the question of carbon, because we have to know whether this first can be combined with times 2 and times 3, which follow, which typically generate a carbon. Well, if this happened by oines, it can't really be added to the full tally regarding carbon at the end of his road, because times 2 and times 3 have to be oines free. So you can't combine Kimi Mitzarah the first time, which happened through oines, to the other but for it in itself, oines is not a mitigating factor in his tummy. Tashmai comes another kasha from the next part of that very same Mishnah, Bashniya. Okay, he had a second emission, times 2, but it can also, once again, we have to check. Why are we checking? Lamai, what for? Ilem la carbon. Is it for carbon purposes? To determine whether you can use this times 2 and connect it to times 3, if I'll have times 3, regarding obligating him a carbon. So it's only for the carbon purposes? But you mean oines is not a factor regarding determining his tumah on times 2? That's incorrect. We'll all agree that times 2 and times 3, if it happened through oines, he's not tamei. Ikri can apply the pasuk. Mipsal roy has to come naturally from himself. It's not caused through an oines. Elalav the tumah. So clearly, the b'dika on times 2 is regarding determining his tumah. In the sefer tumah, let's assume since this part of the Mishnah, the b'dika is for tumah purposes, reish nami l'tumah. Likewise, the first part of the Mishnah on times 1, the b'dika there 2 is regarding tumah. So apparently, oines is a discounting factor even on times 1. That's a kasha on Rav Huna who says oines is not a factor at play at the first experience of ziva. Well, midi area, how could you compare the first part to the second part of the Mishnah? Each one has its own context. Each one is relating to his own world. The purpose of b'dika and the ratio, which is times 1, is regarding carbon only. The sefer, which talks about a b'dika on times 2, is regarding tumah. You're right. Tashmai comes another kasha on Rav Huna who says that the first riyah of a ziva is tamei even ba'oines. Tashma Rab Lazo Aima. So it's this next part of the Mishnah. He says, after shlishi b'ot genoisai, even on times 3, a b'dika is required. How carbon? Because you have to determine whether it's chayva carbon. So the Gemara at this point is understanding that the opposing shita Tanakam will hold that regarding karbanis, even if it's ba'inus, is chayv carbon. And that will be the point of machlekes. Tanakama says, look, if it's just a matter of carbon, there's no point in doing bedikas, because even if it's ba'inus, he has to bring a carbon. Rabbi Eliezer disagrees. You have to check him all throughout, even times 3, to know if it triggers a carbon. Mechlal Tanakama, you have to be kamar. Okay, so if Tanakama does not hold that oinus is a relevant factor regarding triggering a carbon, so why then did we do bedika on times 1 and times 2? So we thought it was regarding carbon matters. Well, that's incorrect at this point. Oinus is not a factor at play regarding carbon, so bedika was apparently only in order to determine whether it's tameh. So why are we checking at the first time? Apparently, because if it's Einus, he's tar. It's a Kashan Rav Huna who says first time Einus is even Einus is tam. No. We're misunderstanding the machlekes here. The kuli amal karb. Everybody's talking just about karbanis here. So you have to determine the Einus factor regarding triggering a carbon. And let's go back to Tanakama. He says you have to check the first time to know whether you can use this and tally it to the next time, the time after, to get him the sum total of 3 for a carbon. So what's the machlekes about? Machlekes is whether there's a point of checking the third time. So we're all in agreement as to the purpose, as to the motive of checking the first time and the second time. First time is strictly to know whether you can tally it for the sum total of 3 to bring a carbon. The point of checking the second time is for that, and also regarding determining tumah. The question is regarding the third time. Is a check required or not? Tanakama says, no point in checking the third time, because the third time, even ba'inus, it's going to be a valid experience. Rabbi Eliezer insists that even the third time around you have to check, because ba'inus is still a mitigating factor. The question is whether we dwell on the word es in the pasuk. Rabbanan Nadashi es. Chacham here do not hold of the drush on the word es. Rabbi Eliezer, Darash Esm, he does. Expound on the S. What does this mean? So let's take a look at the pasuk, which contains the S. Rabbanan Dashi S, and Rabbanan are discounting the S. So the pasuk reads like this: V'hazov, which indicates one emission, S, right? And Zoyvoy, which is another emission, La Zochav Lanakeva. That's the pasuk. Rabbanan say like this. Let's make it count. Where is he holding? Hazav is the first experience, chata. Zoivoy, they skip the S. Zoivoy, that's times 2, tarti. Okay, so only times 1 and times 2 do we need to confirm whether there was an einus. Because if there was, you can't use these for carbon, to trigger a carbon. La zachar tells you up until this point, einus is a mitigating factor. Right. So din of a zachar, where the einus is a mitigating factor. But from this moment onward, meaning from times 3 and up, bashlishi akshi rachman al-nekeva. Right, the pasuk reads, La zachar ul-nekeva. We shift to the nekeva track, and just like by the nekeva, einus is not a discounting factor, as we're going to see later in the Talmud Bavli. Here too, once you get to times 3, even if it's an einus, it will trigger a carbon. Rabbi Eliezer does expound on the S, so he adds another one to the list, in which case he concludes, whether it's times 1, times 2, or times 3, ba'inus, there's no carbon. So we're just speaking strictly about whether or not it's going to trigger a carbon. The third re'iyah, which was ba'inus, is ba'inus a mitigating factor regarding carbon. We're not talking about its effect on the tumah of the person. That's a whole different discussion. And that certainly could be like Rav Huna said, that there's no point in making medika times 1, because oinus is not a factor on the first time. Only on the second time, or maybe on the third time. Okay, Rabbi Elazar does calculate the esim, in which case he adds another one that requires a bedika. Back to the pasuk. Hazav means the first emission, chada. Es is times 2, tarti. Zoi voi is times 3, plus. So oinus is a discounting factor all throughout these 3 times. If it's oinus, there's no carbon. And only going forward, b'revi, the 4th time around. How do you get the 4th time? The point is, let's say he's required to have 7 clean days. After he had 3 emissions, he needs shiva nekim, followed by a carbon. So if something happens during that 7-day period, in that case, even if it's by accident, it will disrupt this count. B'revi, the 4th time around, akshar achron on nekeva, here he's connected to nekeva, where oinus is not a mitigating factor. So we said we had a kasha, part 1 of the Mishnah, part 2, part 3, we answered it all. Here comes another attempt at a kasha. On Rav Huna. What does Rav Huna tell us? Again, he says the first riyah of a zav is not affected by oinus. Tashmai comes a kasha. Rabbi Yitzchak Omer, it's a brayso. V'alezav b'chol malkeri haya. On the one hand, we find that a zav is equated to a balkeri. So then why single out a zav? If he's treated like a balkeri, v'lama yotza, why does the Torah have to spell him out again? To give him its own parameters. To make it easier on him, to make it more strict on him, he has his own rules. How? In which way is he easier than a balkeri? Because she'ein matam b'oinus. If it happens b'oinus, he's tar. Versus a balkeri, which is tam even b'oinus. Ulachmer olav, on the other hand, he's more strict than a balkeri. Shu matam mishkav ha'moishav. He affects his mattress, his seat, which become an avatumah. Unlike a balkeri, it doesn't have that extended effect. Now, pause. How many times are we talking? Is this his first ziva, his second, his third? Emas. Ilim Ri Roshniya, we're speaking times 2 of ziva. What was the question to begin with? Once he's compared to balkeri, so no, he's not compared to balkeri. Hecha hava bichal balkeri. El b'shita b'ri Rishon. Clearly, the brayso is relating to times 1, where the Torah does compare him to balkeri. Okay, having said that, brayso continues. So why then did the Torah spell it out as a separate discussion? Uktani lahakil olav, to make it easier on him. She'ein tam b'oinus. They don't like a balkeri. There's time even if it's b'oinus. By ziva, even times 1 is exempt if he's an oinus. That's a kasha on Rav Huna, who says it's not so. But it is brakadi, learn it this way. If it's times 1, continue with the brayso. It's easier than a balkeri, and more difficult. Lahachmer olav. How is it more severe? Because his tumah extends to his accessories, right? Is that correct? B'riyah Rishoina, merely times 1 of a ziva has that? Bar Mishkav Moshe, he creates Mishkav Moshe. It's incorrect. It's not really stuck. It can't be that we're talking times 2. It can't be times 1. So what are we talking about? It must be the brayso means like this. Rabbi Yitzchak Omer. The first ziva in the Torah is compared to balkeri. So what's the point of speaking about the second time? Meaning, does anything change the second time around? Does the first experience of ziva connect to the subsequent experience to generate a different type of effect? Yes. It gets easier in a way and gets more difficult. Makes it easier. Because once it gets to times 2, oinus is a mitigating factor. Not times 1, times 2 it is. And once again, if it's times 2, he has a more severe tumah. He generates a mishkav ha'moishav. So the kasha was, we thought we're talking about times 1, and oinus is a mitigating factor. It turns out no, we're speaking about a full-blown zav, where oinus is going to take away the tumah. But the first time, no. Oinus is not a factor at play, as per Rav Huna's statement. Now, as far as the particulars, Amar Rav Huna, How is ziva different than keri? Zoiv, the zoiv liquid, doim appears in its consistency lemei batzak shel sa'irim, like barley dough juice. Zoiv, ba'am b'sar hameis. Zoiv is emitted by the aver which has no sensation. Shechvazer, on the other hand, ba'am b'sar hachai, is emitted by the limb which has sensation. Another difference, zoiv is deihed, zoiv is more liquidy, looser. V'dam loiv and beta muzeres appears similar to the egg white of a unfertile egg. Shevchazer, on the other hand, is kshura, thicker. V'dam loiv and beta shen muzeres, compared to the egg white of a proper, a fertilized egg. Okay, continues the Gemara. Dama yilad shlei tafla. We have one more item in the Mishnah, which is subject to machlokes between Beis Hillel, who say fully tamei, and Beis Shammai, who disagree. So we have a yeledes, who after birth observed her yemei tumah. Let's say it was a zachar, it's 7 days of tumah. And now she transitions to the yemei tahara. Any dam she sees going forward is not dam nida, it's dam toyar. However, there's one catch. She has yet to go to the mikveh, which is a requirement, after she concludes the yemei tumah. So as far as her personal state, she's tummy. But the dam, you would think, is technically no longer dam nida. It's dam toyar. So what's the status of that dam? Beis Hillel hold, the dam is treated like dam nida, even though she's already left the Yemei Nida zone, she's transitioned into Yemei Tahara. That only works if she was Toivel. But if she hasn't been Toivel, she's still considered a Nida. And her dam as well is regarded as dam Nida. Beis Shammai disagree. They say, look, the fact is she's in the Yemei Tahara territory, so you can't consider the dam as dam Nida. Therefore it's Tahar. But with the Rabbanon, we give it a limited tumah. A tumah, as long as it's moist. Rashi and the Mishnah brought that it's Xer de Rabbanon to avoid confusion, lest people think that she's still within the Yemei Tumah. So we give it some limited tumah, but we limit it to that extent, so that people realize it's only tumah de Rabbanon. They won't burn truma on account of this contact with this dam. Okay. So the Gemara will explore the machlokes and the factors at play and the reasons for the different shittas, but in general, this is where we're going. We have dam of a yeledes, shloi tavla. What happens? Beis Hillel say it's dam nida, Beis Shammai disagree. Okay, let's see. Dam yeledes shloi tavla. Tanya, amar lehen Beis Hillel Beis Shammai. Beis Hillel turns to Beis Shammai. Why would it not be considered dam nida? Would you agree ben nida shloi tavla? V'rasa dam shit meya? Suppose she was a regular nida. Pre-tvila, her dam is tamei, like any dam nida. Why not here? Amar Beis Shammai respond, Lord, you can't compare. Imamarta ben nida, of course, that is true by a nida. Because look, suppose she was toivel, and now she sees dam again. She's back to square one. It's dam nida. But here by the yeledes, even you agree if she was toivel, she's out of the woods, and the dam would be considered dam toyer. So evidently, it's a different dam. And therefore, even if she hadn't been toivel, true, she herself lingers on with the tumah, but the dam itself, how can you classify it as dam nida? True by nida is true that the dam is tummy. Shafilu tovel v'rasa to me. Even if she was toivel, the dam that comes after tvila would be tummy nida. Tummy be yeledes. How could you say the same about yeledes? Shem tovel v'rasa she toyer. If she would be toivel, even you would agree the dam that comes as toyer. So of course it's different dam. In which case, even if she is still pre-tvila, she herself lingers with her tumah, but that's personal. But the dam itself is coming at a time of dam tahara. Amar lahem. Beis Hillel respond to Beis Shammai with another, from a different angle. Yeledes b'zoiv techiach. Let's move on from the simple yeledes to yeledes b'zoiv. She gave birth and she was a zav at the same time. which requires her to do two things. First of all, she has to observe the Imei Tumah of the 2 weeks of the Tumas Leida, in addition to 7 days of clean days of Nikiyim, to accommodate the Ziva. Now imagine Tavla v'ra'as lachas me'sfira. So let's say she has to do two things. She has to observe the Imei Leida, 2 weeks for the Nekeva, plus she has to have Shiva Nikiyim for the Ziva. Let's say she did everything. Tavla v'ra'as lachas me'sfira. She did the Imei Tumah, she did the 7 Sfira for the Ziva, and she did the Tefillah. And now she sees Dam. She's okay, A-okay, Tahira, because it's Yimei Toya. Nevertheless, Loi Tavla V'rasa, let's say she failed to be Tavla, and then she sees Dam, even though it's Yimei Tahara, Tamei should be Tamei, because the fact is, she's Azava until she's Tavla. So the same here. She has Tumas Yeledus until she's Tavla. So even though technically she could have been Tavla and she could have had, she didn't. Since it's pre-tefillah, the dam is dam nida. Amr lahem, Bishamai responded, look, interesting example. Actually, we disagree on that too. Hua din v'yat shuva. The same exact rule would apply there too. And that's the answer to your argument. The fact is, once she finishes her count, 2 weeks for the Leida and 1 week for the Ziva, her dam now is tar, despite not having been tayvel. Remember the plea? Are you suggesting that Beis Shammai are taking issue even by a Yeledes Bezoiv? Mitayar the dam, even pre-tefillah? But to not look at our Mishnah, which concludes with a consensus statement. Umaydim all agree, Beis Shammai would agree in the following case, that it's Tamei Yeledes Bezoiv. She gave birth when she was a Zava as well. She Matam-alach v'yamish. If it's still pre-tefillah, the dam is dam nida. And here we're saying there's an argument in that case too. Like Kash, the answer is depends where we're holding. Beis Shammai Matar, when she counted the 7 days for the Ziva, so going forward, it's Dam Torah even before Tvila. The Mishnah speaking, she hadn't really finished her count. She's still in the thick of things. Like Kasha Kansha Safra, the Raisa, where we quoted Beis Shammai, saying that the Dam of Eiledes Bezoiv is Torah even before Tvila. I was talking about she counted her Shiva Nekim, so she's checked off the 2 weeks of Leidah, checked off the week of Shiva Nekim for the Ziva. So once the days are up, she's out of that zone, despite the fact she herself is still lingering tumah because of the lack of tefillah. But the dam is dam Torah. Kanshalev suffer. The Mishnah is talking about she hadn't really gotten out of the woods. She hadn't really counted 7 Nikim for the Ziva. So of course she's still in the thick of Ziva. Tanya, in fact, we have a brisa that supports this approach. That the same factors are at play in both cases. Whether it's a regular Yeledis or Yeledis Bezoiv who completed her count and is still pre-tefillah. Tanya, Yeledis Bezoiv should suffer, really tough. Yeledis with Ziva, who counted up her days, but still pre-tefillah. V'rasa, now she has dam. During the time where she would be eligible for Yimei Tahara. So it's subject to machlekes. Beis Shammai say, Tahar, the time of Tumah is up, it's behind her. And we still disagree. Until you're tayvel, the dam is dam nida. Holcha Beis Shammai, she tells them, Shammai followed their opinion. Just like by the Yeledis, plain Yeledis, without Ziva. Once the Yimei Tumah are up, whatever arrives is called Am Toyar. Ubizil Shitas, still go with their opinion, that just like by the Yeledis, pre-Tvila the Dam is Dam Tumah, likewise over here by Yeledis Bezoiv, even though she's done counting all her counts, pre-Tvila the Dam is Dam Nida. Okay, so before we continue, Anisha, a Yeledis, completed her counting, but it's still pre-Tvila. Beis Shammai say, Dam is Tahar, Menat Torah. So will say, no, until you're Tevil, Dam is Dam Nida. Tam Malach V'Yavish. This applies to a regular Yeledis. A Yeledis was also a Zava, and she went through all her countings. But all agree, if she's Yeledis Bezoiv and she's still in the middle of counting, in that case, all agree the Dam is Tamei. Itzman. Now let's proceed to a machlekes Amay Roim, between Rav and Levi, which will link back to this machlekes B'Sham B'Yisila. It's going to interconnect. Itzman. Rav Amar Mayin Echad. So the Torah determines is that a Yoledis has two phases. There are Yimei Tahara and Yimei Tumah. Immediately after the Leda follows Yimei Tumah. Any time she sees there is Tameh. But then after a while, a week of the Zachar, or by the Nekeva 2 weeks, she transitions into a new zone, Yimei Tahara. In which case the Dam is Tahar. Now, what affects that transition? Are the two bloods different materials, sourced in different sources? There's a mayon, a wellspring, a source for this blood during this time, and then it switches to a different source in the next time period? Or shall we say it's all one and the same thing? The shift is merely in the halachic realm. The Torah regards the dam during the first week as tameh, and the same exact material, same exact dam during the second week as tar. Machlekes. It's one mayan. Ha Torah tim asoi, ha Torah te'ar asoi. Here the Torah says tameh, here it says tar. V'levi amano shnei mayon same. They're intrinsically different, coming from two different trigger points. And after the Yimei Tumah, what happens is that the Tumah source dries up, so to speak, and the Tahar source opens up. Nistam HaTameh, Tameh closes up, and if Tahar, the Tahar opens. And likewise, when she completes the Yimei Tahara and goes back to regular life, the exact opposite happens. Nistam HaTahar, the source of Tahar ceases, and if Tahar, Tameh opens. What's the difference between these two approaches? I mean, ultimately it's all pretty much the same thing. Here she's telling me she's Torah. What's the difference whether it's, technically it's the one or it's two? The difference would be like this. Suppose she's shefas. She's seeing continuous flow from one time zone to the other. In which case you could assume that nothing's sealed up. It's still the same as before, despite having entered that new time zone. But you see, it's one continuous flow. We assume it's coming from the same source as previously. Shefa, she's flowing continuously. She began before the conclusion of the 7 Yimei Tumah of the Zachar, and it continued on past that point to after 7, which is technically Yimei Tahara. But here we see it's one and the same material. Or Metecha Ba'asar, by Nekeva, it's a matter of 14 days. The same idea. It started before the completion of 14 days, and it continued flowing continuously ad la'achar ba'asar. Or likewise, at the end of her system, so it's at the end of the 40 days of Yimei Tahara of the Zachar, she started seeing dam then, and continued on past. And by the Nekeva, it's about 80 days, right? So what happened in these cases? We have 4 cases. In the first 2 cases, it went continuously from within Yimei Tumah to past. In the last 2 cases, it went continuously from within Yimei Tahara to past. It depends on your approach. In terms of the sourcings of the Dam, L'Rav, who holds that it's all one and the same really, it's just relabeled by the Torah. In which case, it doesn't really matter if there was a stoppage, if it was a pause, it was continuous. Here the Torah considers it one way, and here the other way. Reisha Lakula, the first 2 cases where it began within the Tumah and continued past, well, now she's in Tahar land. V'sev l'chumra. The last 2 cases, where she began in Yimei Tahara and continued past, the origin doesn't matter. The fact is, right now you're in Yimei Tumah, l'chumra. L'levi, on the other hand, Levi who says, the reason for the shift is because it's sourced from a different place. Not so in our case, where it's a continuous, uninterrupted flow, which indicates that it's coming from the same source as before. Until you have some sort of cessation, some sort of pause, you have to assume it's the same material as before. So the equation will exactly reverse. Reisha l'chumra b'sefer l'kul, and the reisha, where it started off in Yimei Tumah and it never stopped, she'll be telling me, despite the fact that she's already sitting in Yimei Tahara, this dam is coming b'sefer l'kula. It's going to reverse in the last 2 cases, where it began during Yimei Tahara, and even though it continued past, but it's a continuous flow, presumed to be the same material. Interesting machlekes. In Mason, now comes a kasha. A kasha on Levi, who says that it's 2 different sources, and a raya to Rav, who says it's all one and the same. It's just halachically relabeled. Meisveit, Amei Yoledis, Shloi Tavla. Oh, our Mishnah. That's how it links back to our discussion. We're going to see that the Machlekes B'Shamai B'Hillel relates to this discussion. Meisvei, Dam HaYeledes Shelo Tavel. We have the Dam of HaYeledes, who completed her, Yimei Tumah, but she hadn't yet been Tovel. What's the status of the Dam? Right? B'Shamai Oimrim. In HaTorah it's Tahar. Only the Rabbanan, to avoid confusion, we give it a limited Tumah, Kareika, Ragleh, like a saliva, like a wastewater. Fine. It's full-fledged Dam NIDAH. Let's analyze the reasons for these opinions. Kasalka Dait and the Pascha, the Gemara figured, we're assuming that there was a pause. After she had her Yimei Tumah, there was a stoppage, and then it started flowing again. We assume, typically, that's, it's not a continue. Okay, so if there was a stoppage, which indicates that the Dam coming now is perhaps different Dam than before, perhaps. According to Rav, who says that generally it's all one and the same thing, coming from the same source. That would explain the opinion of Beis Hillel, say it's Dam NIDAH. Although there was a stoppage, that's irrelevant, because it's always the same material, regardless. It's just that the Torah says its status changes. Well, there was no status change on the Dam unless she's Tovel, which she hadn't. So we could substantiate Beis Hillel's opinion. According to Levi's opinion, that's two sources. The Dam during the Yimei Tumah is one type. The Dam during Yimei Tahara is a different type, and here there was a pause, so we assume the train shifted tracks. The Dam is really Dam Tahara, a different material. Why Beis Hillel consider like Dam NIDAH? It's coming from a different source. It's Dam Tahara. My skin b'shefas. Levi would say like this: no, I'm mistaken. There was no pause at all. It was a continuous flow. Okay, so in that case, Beis Hillel will say, look, it's coming from the same place as before. Well, if it's continuous flow, what would Beis Shammai say? It's Tahar. If it's the same Dam as Dam Tumah as before, because Savri, Beis Shammai Ma'inechadu, the answer is Beis Shammai would hold. Like Rav. So the Machlekes ultimately will be Machlekes Tanoim. Beis Shammai will disagree, will say, yeah, it's one and the same source, which the Torah relabels as Dam Tahara once she enters the Yimei Tahara, which happened in this case, despite the fact that she didn't Tovel. And therefore they consider it to be Tar. So Bishlam Levi, according to Levi, we have a clear-cut machlekes between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. We understand the factors at play. That exactly is the point of contention between Ben Beis Shammai, who say that it's one source, as we explained, to Beis Hillel, who say it's two different sources, which Levi is aligned up with. The point is, we want Levi to follow Beis Hillel. Halacha follows Beis Hillel. So according to Levi, we now reframe the machlekes. Beis Shammai Beis Hillel. Beis Shammai say it's Mayan Echad. It's all one and the same material, which is reclassified halachically as Tahar. Once you enter Yimei Tahara, which she did. So even though there was no Tevilah, it doesn't matter. Whereas according to Beis Hillel, the reason for the shift is because it's a different source, different blood, which didn't happen in this case because it was shefas, it was a continuous flow. And that's why they consider it to be Tamei. And in fact, Levi's opinion is based on Beis Hillel. Shnei Mayonising. Elo Rav my benayu. We're going to Rav, who holds that Dam Tumah, Dam Tahara, it's all one and the same thing. Just gets reclassified halachically. So how is Rav going to explain Machlekes Beis Shammai Beis Hillel? Why do Beis Hillel? Then we assume Rav is following Beis Hillel. That's the consensus halacha, right? So why would Beis Hillel say the Dam is it's Tamei? Even if it's the same material. We're now in Yimei Tahara. The point is that they hold Yimei Tahara alone are not sufficient to reclassify. You need Tefillah. But now the point of machlekes here is yoimei utvila, the days and the tefillah. Meaning, what's needed to make that shift, that halachic shift? The Beis Shammai Savri b'yomei talmud-gemara. Shammai hold it's depend on days only. So when she entered the yemei tahara, she's tahar. Even pre-tefillah and Basil Savri, they hold no. You need both factors to change her status. B'yomei, you need the days utvila. Okay, so let's just take a quick pause and recap the machlekes Beis Shammai and Basil based on our new understanding here. So we have two ways to understand Beis Hillel. Beis Shammai is pretty clear. Mayon echad, the dam tumah, dam tahara, it's all one and the same thing. It's just that it changes status once she achieves yemei tumah, and she arrives at yemei tumah, status changes despite not having been toivel. That's Beis Shammai's opinion. According to Beis Hillel, we have two ways. We have Rav's approach, that mayon echad. However, they hold that the shift doesn't change, it doesn't take place unless she's toivel. Days alone don't affect halachic shift. We have Levi's approach, shnei mayones. The dam tumah is one thing, dam tahara is something else. Except that we're talking about a case where it was a continuous flow, which indicates that it's one and the same thing. We're still holding on to the old material. In which case we have to assume that it's still dam tumah. That's why according to Basil it's tashmai comes another raya to Rav's opinion that it's mayon echad, and Akash on Levi who says it's two mayon. Tashma moedim, all agree. Even Beis Shammai would agree in the following case that the dam is tamei. But let this bezoif, if she was a ledis and also a zav at the same time, shematam lach v'yavish, the dam is full-fledged dam nidah, matame, wet and dry. Now, what happened here? Was there a break in the action, or was it a continuous flow? Sankadait, more figured at this point, Hachanami the Pascha, just as we had suggested earlier. Here too, there was a pause, there was a break in the action. After she completed the yemei tumah, there was a stoppage, and then it resumed later. And Mishnah tells us, all agree, Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel agree, dam is tamei. Bishleim el Rav, according to Rav, it can be fully understood. The Amar, he says, mayan echad, all agree that the dam tumah, dam tahara is coming from the same source. It's just that the Torah gives it tahara status once you achieve that stage of tahara. That's why in this case it's still tamei, because as we explained before, she hadn't yet observed her shiva nekiyim. She's still in the midst of the ziva experience. Elul Levi de Amar, according to Levi who says dam tumah comes from one source, dam tahara from a different source. Amay metamalach v'yavish. Why is this dam called dam nidah? The fact is, true, she hasn't yet observed her shiva nekim, I understand. But if there was a pause of that dam, and now she's in the yemei tahara, this dam is not dam ziva, it's not dam nidah. It's dam coming from the tahara source. Look, there was dam tumah, it's gone. There was a pause. Now it's trains on the new track, dam tahara. So even though as a person she hasn't observed her shiva nekiyim, what's the issue? There's no dam tumah here. Why is that dam metame? Malach Levi will respond to this question by saying, here too, as we said, I've concluded before, that it was a continuous flow. Here was a continuous flow. There was no break at all. So this dam is coming from the same source as before. It's dam tum. Well, if we're talking about a continuous flow, then this case seems superfluous. Of course the dam is still tamei. It's the same dam as before. The Beis Shammai Isrich was meant to highlight Beis Shammai's position in this case. Even though Beis Shammai personally hold that it's really one source, as we said before. And Beis Shammai also hold that once the days are over, once you're in the days of Tahara, the dam undergoes a halachic shift and is considered Tahar, even before Tefillah, ledis great das. That's true by regular ledis, and she finishes her the Shlimul Yomi, she completed her 7-day count or 14-day count. She's now entered the Yemei Tahara, the dam changes status. Aval Yeledis bezoiv the boy sphere aloi. But by Yeledis, who's also a zava, she needs an extra count of 7 days. And as long as she hasn't done that, she's not out of the ziva, and the dam is still dam ziva. That's the point of the Mishnah, to highlight that even Beis Shammai would agree in this case the dam is still fully tummy, because she has never really observed 7 clean days. It was a continuous flow, it never stopped. It's still dam tuma, and she's still waiting. Shiva Nakim. Tashmai comes in another raya to Rav that it's really one and the same source. The Vayisah Titma. Okay, this is the first pasuk over the Isha Kisazriya, V'yolda Zacha, right? She's tummy for 7 days. Kimei nidas Vayisah Titma. The word Vayisah seems to be extra. It could have simply said, Kimei nida Titma. What's the Vayisah? Teaches us the following halachas. The Vayisah Titma, the Rabbi says, Bayallah. Just as a person who's involved with a nida becomes tummy, likewise a husband of a Yeledis who interacted with her is tummy. The Vayisah Titma, the Rabbi Halelis, to tell you that she's tummy even during nighttime. Don't think it's just tummy during the Shivas Yomim, but not during the night. She's tummy even at night. Further, the Vayisah Titma, the Rabbi says, Yeledis bezoiv. To add that a Yeledis was also a Zava at the same time, Shiva Yom Nekim. So she has to observe Shiva Yom Nekim like any other Zava. And the Chazon Ish explains that the Chiddushes don't think that the Leida experience sort of cancels out, negates the whole Ziva experience. No. She has, lots of boxes to check off. She has to observe the Tumas Leida, she has to observe Shiva Nekim for the Ziva. Now, Bishlam el Rab, according to Rav, we understand why she's required to check off Shiva Nakim as well. The Amar Mayin Echad, he says the dam is coming off from the same source. So the dam that comes after Shiva, after the Tumas Leida, is still from the same place as before. And it does not undergo a relabeling, does not become tar until she checks off all her boxes. The Leida, Shiva Nakim, without dam at all, and after which she enters the Tahara. But if it's dam, she can't consider it to be Shiva Nakim, because she's seeing dam, which is really the same dam as dam Tumah. According to Rav, it's all one and the same dam. That explains why she needs 7 clean days to check off the Shiva Nakim requirement. We turn to the next one. Levi b'mashru sagi, going to Levi, who says that once a Yeledis is through the Yimei Leida, the 7 Yimei Tumah, the 14 Yimei Tumah, that wellspring dries up and the train shifts tracks to a new source. So this new track produces dam tahara, which should not be a contradiction to Shiva Nakim. As long as you can ascertain that it's new blood, it's dam tahara, that wouldn't interfere with Shiva Nakim. Even if she sees this dam, it's still considered Shiva Nakim. It's clean. Clean from what? From dam tumah. If you say Shnei Mayana saying Lamali Shiva, why do you need 7 clean days without dam? B'mashu sagya. Even a short moment. A small break, a brief pause. After the Shiva Yimei Leida, after the 2 weeks of Tumas Leida, should be sufficient to get her onto the Shiva Nakim track. In which case, even if she sees dam, this is dam tahara. And it's not an interference to Shiva Nakim. You're right, talmud-gemara, that's exactly what the Brisa meant. She has to have a slight pause to indicate a cessation, a completion of the dam tumah. In which case, going forward, Shiva Nakim, the next week we consider Shiva Nakim, despite experiencing dam. It's dam tahara, not relevant, and not an interference at all to Shiva Nakim. Okay, so we discussed a couple of complicated topics. We started with the Metzora, who's having a Riyas Ziva. We know that Azav times 2 times 3, his Ziva is Metame B'masa. We also know that a Metzora is Ma'yana is Metame B'masa. What about the first Ziva of a Metzora? And we concluded that it's also considered a Mayan as Metame B'masa. We know that Oines is a mitigating factor by Ziva. Times 2, times 3. What about times 1? Rav Huna says times 1 is considered like a Sheikh Zara, where Oines is not a factor at play. A string of kashas, which were answered. Then we shifted to the third topic at hand, which was dam yoleda shlei tavla. Machlekes Beis Hillel who say it's still considered dam tumah. Beis Shammai say, well, she's out of the yimei tumah. The dam is not considered tar. We had several ways to explain it based on the machlekes Rav and Levi. Dam tumah, dam tahara. It's all one and the same, just halachically different, or it's physically different. It's coming from two different sources. The conclusion was that according to Beis Shammai, certainly it's mayan echad. It's really one and the same dam, which becomes tar once she enters the yimei tahara, which Beis Shammai hold happens even though she hadn't been toivel. She's right now in yimei tahara. The dam is tar, not tar. Regarding Beis Hillel, well, according to Rav, they also hold it's mayan echad, but they hold that for tahara to take place, you need the days behind you, and also tefillah, which didn't happen in this case. She wasn't toivel. According to Levi, shnei mayon same. The dam tumah and dam tahara do different things. So why do we still consider the dam to be still tameh if it's happening during the yimei tahara? The answer is because we're talking b'sheifas. There was a continuous flow, which is a sign to us that this, in fact, is still coming from the same place as before. It's dam tumah. That explains why, when Beis Hillel, it's still tameh. Now, regarding a ledas bezoiv, so let's say she hadn't really finished her 7-day count. Even Beis Shammai agree. It's considered dam ziva, the tameh min haTorah, just like Beis Hillel. Okay, all the best, Stephen Atzlacha.